pumpkin patch. "It's that time of year again," Patch the Scarecrow said. "Look how colorful the leaves are." Replied Punk, his grumpy pumpkin pal. "I wish you'd leave." Suddenly Pumpkin Patch heard a rustling noise. A family had found their way into the garden. "Maybe if we stay very quiet and still, they'll go away and leave us alone," Punk told everyone. Little Anna Snifflewith came running up to Punk and looked at him very closely. "Look at this one, Daddy," she shouted. "This pumpkin will make a perfect jack-o'-lantern." Anna's dad picked Punk off the ground, and the Snifflewith family started back towards their car. Everyone in the garden quietly gasped. Zoom! The car sped away, and the animals in the garden started to shout, "Where are they taking Punk?" "Quick!" Patch shouted to the crows perched on his head. "Follow that car!" The birds fluttered away in hopes to find out where Punk was headed. The Snifflewith family drove back to their house and placed Punk on the fireplace next to three odd-looking pumpkins. The house was filled with the smell of cinnamon and apples, and pictures of monsters hung on the walls. Still very confused, Punk stayed quiet and still until nighttime. When the Snifflewiths had all gone to bed, Punk demanded to know what was happening. "Hey, freaks," he grumbled. "What's wrong with your faces? Were you guys kidnapped too?" The pumpkins turned to Punk and whispered, "Shh, don't you know what they do to pumpkins on Halloween?" Punk shook his head. No one had ever mentioned Halloween in the garden before. "They pull out all of our mushy, seedy insides, carve new faces on us, and light candles inside our heads." Just then, there was a knock on the window. The crows from the garden had found him. "Get me out of here, you guys!" Punk shouted through the window pane. "This crazy family tortures pumpkins and hollows them out. It's a terrible holiday called Halloween." "I heard that Anna's gonna carve a happy face on you, Punk," one of the pumpkins said. As the crows flew for help, Punk could be heard shouting, "A happy face? No!" The next morning, the crows were back in the garden, telling everyone about Halloween. Gordon, a scatterbrained little gourd, said, "I think I've heard about this holiday. A chubby bearded man in a red suit slides down people's chimneys and shouts, 'Ho, ho, ho.' Then he puts treats in the children's stockings." "That is the strangest holiday I've ever heard of," Patch said. "Where can we get some candy around here?" One of the crows said, "Candy doesn't grow in the garden, but we crows like worms just as well." Patch had a plan. Everyone pitched in to quickly make a big red suit. The tomato plants donated some red tomato juice, which Patch used to dye his clothes. Raccoons brought bundles of straw and stuffed them into Patch's shirt, making him look like he had a big belly. The squirrels knitted a white beard for Patch with cotton from a nearby cotton field. The crows then took hold of Patch and flapped their wings with all their might. The Scarecrow was lifted off the ground and into the evening sky. "So long," Patch shouted to his friends below. "I'm off to rescue Punk, and I'll be spreading some Halloween cheer while I'm at it too." Meanwhile, Anna Snifflewith was hosting a Halloween party. Punk watched as Anna and her friends dressed up in costumes, bobbed for apples, and played games. Soon it was time for everyone to help carve the last pumpkin on her fireplace. Punk got scared. "Where's Patch?" he worried. "Didn't the crows tell him to rescue me?" As Anna and her friends walked closer, Punk started to shake and tremble. Patch suddenly appeared in a cloud of soot in the front of the fireplace. "Ho, ho, ho! Merry Halloween!" he shouted. Everyone but Mr. Snifflewith looked completely shocked. "It's probably Mr. Tupper from across the street," he thought. "He always comes up with the craziest Halloween pranks." In an instant, the party had turned into chaos. Patch was busy stuffing worms into everyone's socks. "Here are some tasty treats for all you good little boys and girls," he said with a smile. The kids started to scream and panic. Even Mr. and Mrs. Snifflewith had worms on them. In all the confusion, Gordon crawled out of Patch's bag and found Punk. "Hurry, come with me," Gordon yelled as they both bounced back into the bag. Gordon whistled to Patch, who grabbed the bag and ran back to the fireplace. The crows swooped down and lifted Patch up and out of the chimney. "He flew up the chimney," Anna shouted. "Santa Claus!" another girl exclaimed. "He came early this year to give us worms?" Maybe this was a warning. Maybe we all need to be on a better behavior from now on until Christmas, and then he'll come back and give us better presents. Mr. and Mrs. Snifflewith had no idea what had just happened, but if the result was less naughtiness until Christmas, they really didn't care. Having safely returned home, Punk made an announcement. "I know I might be a little crabby at times," he stated. Everyone rolled their eyes, but I am sort of happy to have people that care about me. Thanks, everybody. The whole garden cheered and a party was thrown to celebrate Punk's return. Every crow, critter, and crop in the garden had a wonderful time, except for Punk, who had to spend most of the night trying to explain the difference between Halloween and Christmas to Gordon. Meanwhile, all the worms had their own party back at the Snifflewith house. The end.